A gentleman and a lady descend to a bar using two different elevators. When they see each other, they embrace and ask whether they remember anything. They walk in to investigate but are met by a mysterious white-haired bartender who is the proprietor of Quindicim Bar. He introduces himself as Decim and asks whether they recall anything before arriving. The husband recalls being on a honeymoon vacation with his newly wife, Machiko, to which she agrees. Decim thanks them and explains to them the standard rules or circumstances that they are here when asked by the husband. 1. He cannot tell them where they are. 2. They will play a game. 3. The game will be chosen by roulette. 4. The lives of the two individuals will depend on this game. 5. Both of them cannot leave the place until the game is over. They begrudgingly accept the terms and conditions and play a game of darts selected via roulette. The catch is, wherever each dart landed, their partner would experience pain in the associated body part. While playing, each of them receives fragments of their memories, and the man known as Takashi suspects that Machiko was cheating on him, which she denies. Takashi tries to turn the match in his favor by landing the winning hit, and at the end of the game, it's revealed that both of them had died in a car crash due to Takashi's jealousy. Machiko later reveals that she had never loved him and only married him for wealth, enraging Takashi in the process, who then tried to kill her. Seeing as how this would turn out, Decim stops him from assaulting her by releasing threads that can control the movements of a person, and sends the both of them to the elevators, where it is revealed that Takashi is sent to be reincarnated and Machiko is sent to the void. An ebony-haired woman with no recollection of her name and memories wakes up in a grass bed with a strange girl looking over her. She introduces herself as Nona and takes the raven-haired girl to the Quindicim Bar, where she will be working as an assistant to Decim. She then takes the woman to a room filled with separated mannequins, which is actually the backstage where they can observe the darts game between Takashi and Machiko, explaining the true nature behind the games, which is to pass judgment on the souls. Once the game has been finished, the woman gives her insight into the whole ordeal, where she thinks Machiko lied about her being unfaithful and who the unborn child's true father was in order to save Takashi's soul. This comes as a surprise to Decim, who is then reprimanded by Nona for this lapse in judgment, after which the former apologizes to the latter and makes sure that he never makes such an error again. It is sunset time and a girl in a pink dress is waving goodbye to a boy in a yellow shirt, saying that they will meet again. The peaceful scene fades to black as the eyes open fluttering and a young man is awakened by Decim, who asks if he slept well. The young man wonders where he is, to which Decim responds by pointing him toward the bar and stating that he will explain the situation there. Once he goes there, he sees a girl with brown hair and overalls sitting on a seat. He then sits next to her and is taken aback by her beauty. Decim now introduces himself in his bar again and repeats the same 5 rules explained previously to Takashi and Machiko. Naturally, when hearing those rules, they try to leave and find a way out but fail to do so like the previous 2 guests. They ask each other if they remember anything. The woman cannot seem to remember anything, but the man remembers his own name, revealing him to be Shigeru Miura. Decim states that if they were to play the game, their memories would return. This makes Shigeru skeptical, but the young woman wants to take the opportunity while wishing to know if Shigeru is willing to go along with it. After a few moments, Shigeru agrees, and the black-haired woman then presents the roulette button, where when pressed, it's decided that the game they will play will be bowling. There are 2 bowling balls of red and blue color, each with a beating heart. This naturally freaks Shigeru out, but Decim assures him that the beating heart only corresponds with their heart rate and is the same temperature as their bodies. Unlike in the previous game, this will not cause any pain to the players. Once they start playing, their memories gradually return to them. Once the girl lands 2 strikes in a row, she remembers that her name is Chisato, Shigeru's childhood friend in the pink dress, who was waving back to him at sunset time. Once Shigeru is about to land a strike, he has a flashback where he remembers going to a bowling alley with his friends and showing them a cute girl he likes, but their friends tell him a secret regarding her, which he is shocked to hear about. Once on the way back in a bus, he spots Chisato and says to her a few words, but she is unable to respond since the bus collides, resulting in their deaths. Chisato checks on him since he seems devastated, but he puts on a brave face and declares that everything is alright. Once Chisato is about to intentionally miss her shot to let Shigeru win for a date, she remembers that her name is actually Mei Takada, who was Shigeru's other childhood friend. It is then revealed that Chisato, Mei, and Shigeru used to play together at a park and stopped playing when Chisato was moving away. Mei used to like Shigeru to such an extent that she confessed her feelings for him and had plastic surgery to look more like Chisato so that Shigeru could notice him. Shigeru won the game, and once Decim starts to give the explanation that they are dead, the former tells him to save it since he knows everything while approaching Mei. Before Mei can explain anything, Shigeru asks her out for a date since this is his only chance since they are dead and wants to spend his last moments with her, which Mei happily and tearfully accepts. Once they are done with their date, the two say their last goodbyes and go towards the elevator, where Decim bids them farewell. Shigeru and Mei are both sent to be reincarnated. A teenage boy and an adult woman try to find an exit in Quindicim, but to no avail. They recall Decim explaining the standard rules to them, but the woman believes it to be a hoax. She takes the young boy to the restroom and explains her theory that there are hidden cameras throughout the bar and that it's all a ruse that they should go along with. She reveals herself to be Misaki Takebana, a TV celebrity. The boy revealed to be Yusuke Takeshi is initially skeptical but eventually agrees with her after she employs her feminine charm. Once they return to the bar, they press the roulette button, and the game turns out to be an arcade fighting game where they will be fighting an avatar of themselves. Like in the previous games, their memories come to them with each passing moment. Yusuke wins the first round, but Misaki appears frustrated while getting flashbacks of her youth when she used to fool around with a boy, got married, had 2 kids from him, and was eventually abused and divorced from him. The same scenario happened with her second husband. Before the second round, Misaki tries to tempt Yusuke to let her win the second round, and the latter initially agrees to do so until he starts to almost defeat her in the game, while Dsym presses a button and causes Yusuke's joystick to break and making him lose. Right before the final round, she takes him to the bathroom and wants to win the whole game. When asked by the black-haired girl as to why he pressed the button, Dsym replied that he has to create extreme conditions to see the darkness in their souls, since it's his job as an arbiter. Back in the restroom, Yusuke still thinks that this isn't a TV show, and they can't remember any details of how they got here, which Misaki confronts Dsym about. Dsym confirms that this is not a TV show and refuses to answer any more questions until they complete the game. Misaki then remembers Dsym's threat of death and thinks that this is unfair since Yusuke is really good at arcade games. Just as Yusuke is about to beat Misaki, the latter smashes his head on the arcade screen out of frustration to prevent him from winning. Remorseful over this action, Misaki requests Dsym to help Yusuke, but Dsym sternly tells her to finish the game. Just as she is about to win, Yusuke becomes conscious and starts beating her in the game, after which the final round ends in a double knockout. Both regain their memories and realize they are dead. Yusuke's parents had a divorce and were constantly bullied, making him clinically depressed. He later had a stepmother who treated him but didn't bother to talk to her and committed suicide, whereas Misaki was strangulated by an angry and frustrated assistant whom she was abusing for scheduling a show that made her spend less time with her 5 children. Yusuke is sent to be reincarnated, whereas Misaki is sent to the void. The raven-haired woman has been having dreams of a boy and a girl from a children's storybook and is surprised to find the girl from her dream on a panel Nona asked to put up as a replacement. Then 2 new customers approach the bar, who is a man and a young boy, who surprises Dsym when he has a recollection of the Quintessym bar before. He suddenly has a flashback about the room of mannequins that Dsym keeps behind his bar and gets into a panic attack. He then takes the young boy hostage in exchange for escaping this place. Dsym restrains the man with his threads, and the raven-haired woman comes to the aid of the young boy. Just as he is saved, the woman is put to sleep and the young boy is revealed to be another arbiter named Jinty, who then begins to question Dsym about the woman who never got to participate in the games, considering the fact that she knew her death. Dsym responds that he respects those who lived fulfilled lives, a philosophy that he adheres to, which irritates Jinty, and the two dukes it out until Nona restrains Jinty and reveals that the guests were a part of a test for Dsym, which he failed since he didn't realize that the boy had no memories, whereas the man was a dummy with implanted memories. Later on, when the ebony-haired woman still dreams about the same boy and girl from the children's tale, it is revealed that they are Johnny and Chavat when Nona is reading a book about them titled Chavat. A Gyra schoolgirl arrives at a different bar from the elevator, and while exploring the place, she finds out that she is late and Jinty and a boy known as Harada, who is a member of the boy band CHA, is waiting at the sofa. The bar is revealed to be Vinginti and is owned by Jinty, who then makes the two play a game of Twister via roulette as per standard arbitration rules. While Mayu is a fangirl who is excited to play with Harada, the latter is more concerned with getting back to his girlfriend. Once they start asking for a break, the stakes are raised when the climate of the Twister mat is changed, ranging from extreme heat and freezing cold to gushing wind depending on the panel they step on. Once the two nearly escape this, they enter in a sudden death situation above a pit of spikes, and Jinty tells them that only one of them can win. Harada thinks about pushing Mayu off, but Mayu forfeits and lets herself drop. Just as this happens, Harada gets a flashback of her ex-girlfriend committing suicide after her breakup and, feeling remorseful over his action, tries to stop her from falling down the pit. Mayu then lets go, and just as she's about to land on the spikes, she remembers the cause of her death, which is slipping on a soap in a bathroom and falling headfirst, whereas Harada recalls that he was killed by his current girlfriend, who was the sister of his ex-girlfriend who committed suicide. After a change of clothes, the two take an interest in one another and decide to throw a concert for the other staff. Dsym's assistant comes across a book containing the same story, which occurs in her dreams, causing her to regain the memories and her realization of her death. She asks Dsym about the owner of the book, to which he responds that it belonged to the previous owner and arbiter of Quintessym, known as Quinn, who now works at the Information Bureau. In a flashback to Dsym's training, Nona asks why he didn't use the remote, to which Dsym responds with his philosophy of respecting people who lived fulfilled lives, which intrigued Nona. Quentin, while drinking with Nona, comments on how Disim is an unusual arbiter with emotions, while Disim shows his assistant his treasure, a collection of dummies dressed as their former guests who were sent to the void. He does this so they do not be forgotten. Nona then arranges for two special guests for Disim to handle. The two special guests arrive at the Quindison bar, a young man named Shimada and a detective named Tatsumi, one of whom is a murderer. While finding an exit in the bar, Shimada finds a bloody knife in his backpack, not knowing how it got there. The two participate in a game of air hockey selected via roulette, and like most games, they suddenly get their memories back mid-game. Shimada remembers looking after his younger sister, whereas Tatsumi remembers that his wife was murdered, with the two finally gaining access to their memories, which fuels their motivation to flee, and Shimada remembering that his sister was assaulted. Disim amplifies the game, where scored pucks deal pain to the respective organs. All the while, Disim's assistant requests access to their memories, whereupon she learns that both of them are murderers. The game between the two continues, with Shimada realizing that he already killed his sister's attacker. Tatsumi also realizes that he has avenged his wife and that Shimada was the one who killed him. It appeared that Tatsumi watched Sei, who is Shimada's younger sister, be assaulted to enact judgment on her attacker. Shimada, however, believed Tatsumi to be a partial accomplice in the assault and stabbed him to death. Disim provides Shimada with the opportunity to enact punishment on Tatsumi by stabbing the pucks containing Tatsumi's organs. Disim's assistant objects to this as she tries to stop Shimada from doing so, stating that humans cannot be judged by memories alone, but the latter gives into his anger and kills him. Disim then sends both of them to the void. Disim goes towards Nona to question his ability to judge people following the previous game, while Nona reminds him that she needs to judge his assistant since she will turn into a mannequin if passed unjudged. Disim decides to not have the memories of the upcoming guest sent by Nona, who is Sachiko Uemura, who is an old mangaka. Disim, his assistant, and Sachiko play the card game Old Maid selected via roulette, featuring designs based on things important to the players. After seeing the images, Sachiko deduces that she has died, while the assistant has a flashback revealing her to be Chiyuki after Sachiko tells her about the Chavit story from the card. Sachiko leaves to be reincarnated, all the while Oculus, who is Mema's boss, absorbs the memories of Clavis, the elevator attendant, and learns that Disim is displaying human emotions, which goes against the Arbiter rules. Nona has Quinn retrieve Chiyuki's memories. Mayu and Harada are still present in Jinti's bar, and Jinti gives Mayu the opportunity to choose another human soul in exchange for Harada to become conscious. Concurrently, Disim requests that Chiyuki perform ice skating, since it was a large part of her memories, after which she remembers that she used to be a professional ice skater until she suffered from a fatal knee injury that left her bedridden. This led her to develop depression, and she eventually slit her own wrists. Disim and Chiyuki and have a final drink, but he puts her to sleep and then asks Quinn to send him her memories. Meanwhile, Mayu has decided to go into the void with Harada, which makes Jinti question her devotion to him, to which she replies that it's her choice. Harada then wakes up to have the two of them share one last embrace before entering the void. Oculus confronts Nona regarding her methods, since she wants to prove the fact that arbiters are not mere puppets. Disim then shows Chiyuki her old house, where she sees her mother mourning for her, making Chiyuki regret her choice. He then offers Chiyuki a chance to come back to life in exchange for another soul, and she's about to give in to her instincts, but remembering how everyone she met in Quindisim had someone important in their lives, she ultimately decides against it, which causes Disim to have powerful and painful emotions while revealing to her that this was part of her judgment. Nona observes the outcome with Oculus, proving her point, and Disim then sees off Chiyuki to be reincarnated. Nona and the others wonder what would happen to the system if they would understand human emotions, while Disim greets the new guests with a faint smile on his face and a mannequin resembling Chiyuki.